Oh my.
Welcome back already to the TI4 Qualifiers presented by Monster. We're here at the BTS studio, joined by a new guest, Baseskip. How are you doing, Baseskip?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited. I'm still a little bit jet lagged, but getting over it.
You had the longest trip here. I think yours was a little longer than Cinderella's.
Yeah, it was over 20 hours, and then waited for Cinder at the airport, and so long trip, but I'm here now. And
nothing compared to your 2-hour flight from
I could have walked. Could have, didn't, but could have.
Yeah. No, we've got our first match today coming up. It's going to be Revenge versus Isurus, an all-South American showdown. What are your thoughts, Baseskip? I mean, you know a little bit about these teams. You're about as much as I know.
I know the Revenge roster at the very least. So
Revenge are an exciting team.
I feel like Revenge are coming in a little bit as the favorites.
Yeah.
Not 100% sure. I think, again, I spoke about this yesterday. I feel like it's going to be a really good indicator of what kind of form the teams are on this first round. There's a lot of momentum going into it, and I think especially for Revenge, we mentioned they had all the roster drama and whatnot. So if things start to go bad, it could snowball really quickly from there. So we'll have to see.
Well, the game has started. The draft is underway, so we're going to pass it over to our two commentators for our first match of the TI4 Americas Qualifiers. It's AC as well as Molini. Take it away, guys.
Well, man, we're playing for South American pride now as we get ready to move on into the game. And, yeah, we're already underway. Darkseer and Enchantress picked up very early by Revenge. Tree picked up by Isurus. Now, Revenge, I think we all have a little bit of experience with them. We've seen them play at least some if you've been keeping up with some of the Tier 2 matches across various tournaments. But Isurus, not going to lie, man, I don't know anything about them. Don't know how they play, don't know what their style is. Just know that both teams are South American and are playing for a little bit of regional pride.
Apparently, they're famous for Meepo Gaming on fullback. DDX was en route with Monkeys and a few other people, Blitz's old team. So he's been around the block. Apparently, he plays with a lot of ping issues, though. I'm not exactly sure which servers these are hosted on, but hopefully that won't have too much of an impact. We see a Storm Spirit first phase pick. I wouldn't say that anything else is unusual except for that. It's very easy for Revenge Draft Lockdown, especially when they see that pick coming this early. But Treant Protector, Darkseer is probably one of the most commonly picked heroes versus them, just to get rid of that pesky living armor.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point with the Storm Spirit pick. When you see him pick this early, it's kind of like an Enigma pick. Whenever you pick heroes like this that do have so many ways to be countered and usually do require at least some kind of countering somewhere, you show the Storm Spirit early, like you said. Revenge is going to have a myriad of options to try and account for that. Darkseer against the Treant Protector makes a ton of sense.
The Meepo ban, man.
Was going to say, I was actually going to bring that up too. We were talking with our buddies who know these teams a little bit more, and apparently that's kind of common against Isurus, the idea of the Meepo respect ban. They're just so damn good with it.
Maybe they should start first picking Meepo in the first phase. I think Meepo is not terribly difficult to counter, but a lot of the common counters I think are not popular right now. For example, Ember Spirit with Battle Fury just cleaves the crap out of Meepos, but he hasn't been picked in a while. The odds in Dota 2 Lounge state 70-30 in favor of Revenge. So even though they may have had roster issues, probably they still are a stronger roster. Smash is one of the best players, I think, in this tournament in terms of personal skill. Mihawk, Benjaz, Misoku, and Misko rounding out the rest of the lineup. They've been playing together for a long time.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, those who are unfamiliar with why Revenge has been such a big storyline, there was a whole lot of up and down. Not going to recap the whole thing, but Revenge was in, they were out, they were in, they were out. And they managed to get the band back together just in time after basically disbanding, following things falling apart. Mystico actually had a chance to talk directly with him on our D2L show just a few days ago. And really, he took full responsibility for all of that. And everything else kind of tumbled away from that. But once the apologies were made and Valve was keen to work with them, they were able to get themselves back in. So this is a chance not just for them to get a good bit of positioning very early on, but I think everyone who's really keeping up with the qualifier wants to see how they look coming out of the gate, because there was, without a doubt, a little bit of bad blood between some of the players. I mean, a lot of anger, a lot of emotions. That's why you saw 3 players depart all at once. And we all want to see just how much they're able to put that aside and focus on the game so far. Revenge, though, going to grab up a 3rd pick, Wraith King.
I think this is a support Wraith King, and I also think that this may be a safe lane Storm instead of a mid Storm. I'm not positive on that, but I think they're more likely to run safe lane Storm than some of the other teams. Support Wraith King, I expect to see him a lot this tournament. He has the added benefit of actually being able to do stuff and not dying, as opposed to Auron, who doesn't die but actually can't do that much. Wraith King, very reliable, single target stun, 8-second cooldown, and he can just be all up on people's faces. Storm doesn't want to go on him. Treant doesn't really want to root him.
Yep. Well, I like the Wraith King, and based around what they've already shown, like you said, in terms of just what he brings against what Isurus has already drafted. But Wraith King's just very flexible in how you build him. You can play him almost as an initiator if you want. You see Blink Daggers come out from time to time. He's also a very good hero to pick up an early mech if you're not prioritizing that on someone else or you don't have another natural mech carrier. You can go Necrobook if you want to push, and was just going to say, with the Enchantress and the Wraith King, push is definitely an option. Now with the Shadow Shaman, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Revenge is going to be wanting to take the fight to the towers very early in this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at his tags. It only says durable, carry, and disabler, but he should definitely be in the initiator category.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Support. They need to update some of these.
Oh, great pick with the axe. I actually like that a whole lot based on what Revenge has shown them. Ember Spirit, we've seen time and time again. Since the latest patch, he did fall off a bit in popularity, still picked very frequently, but one of the ways you can account for him is just never give him space and time to farm. Don't let him get up those 2 or 3 items he needs to be a beast, because once he is a beast, he can just completely waylay any team in his way. Now, though, you have an axe as both initiation and counter-initiation, and a great way to answer up against heroes like an Enchantress, like a Shadow Shaman, etc. Just being able to get out from under your own tower whenever the 5-man push does come and take the fight right to them and try to force these big cluster kind of battles that are almost going to be inevitable whenever you look at the way the Revenge is going to have to play this game out.
They have a lot of good manly heroes.
Yeah, they do.
The Ember Spirit, Storm, and Axe all can do a lot of work with the living armor. Still, I think they need a better AoE. If you look at Isurus' game, their team fight is just really poor. So Revenge, for some reason, get behind early. They can just 5-man down with Vacuum Wall, with Shadow Shaman Wards, and just take the fight to Isurus. And Isurus, they don't have great anti-push. Maybe when Ember Spirit gets Battle Fury, or if Axe gets an early Blink Dagger, but we'll see how the laning phase goes first.
Yeah, the laning phase is going to be determining a lot, I would imagine. I really like how flexible Revenge is going to be in terms of building those items that you usually want whenever you have an early aggression lineup. Whenever you have a Darkseer, he's a very natural mech carrier. That frees up time for a Wraith King to rush out a Blink Dagger. It allows Shadow Shaman, if you want to give him some farm priority, he can go something like a mobility item, maybe even an early Scepter, or as early as you can possibly get a Scepter anyway. And the Enchantress, of course, a natural roamer, great person to carry an urn if you really want to keep the pressure up throughout the entire game. So I like Revenge's draft quite a bit here. I mean, when you look at Isurus and their late game potential, it can't be denied, but it's going to be quite a task, I think, for them to make it to that stage of the game where you're going to see heroes like Ember Spirit really shine, like a Storm Spirit really shine, once he's able to get up an item like an Orchid, a BKB, and so on.
So it's TBD as to what role even Revenge is going to pick for the last. Shadow Shaman could have been mid, and they could have waited for a carry, or they can put Wraith King as carry and dump Night Stalker mid. Night Stalker silence very, very good versus Ember and Storm, and right after the Storm Spirit pick, they picked 3 heroes with things that are very good versus Storm Spirit. Shadow Shaman probably the best with the Hex and the Shackle, and then Night Stalker and Wraith King, of course, can do a lot of work against Storm. So I don't think Storm will have that easy of a time, or even Ember Spirit. Ember Spirit also requires tons of lockdown. Yeah,
I really love the Night Stalker pick. I think you hit the nail on the head. Whenever you just look at it, and this is what we were talking about, and you so astutely pointed out, is the Storm Spirit being shown this early gives the enemy team the ability to do this. Look at the lockdown they have. They've got Hellfire Blast, they've got Hex, they've got Shackles, they've got the Silence from Night Stalker, one of the longest in the whole game, and the Ember Spirit and the Storm Spirit both. Really, the heroes are defined by how mobile they are, the damage they can do just by bouncing around in and out of fights. Ember Spirit, of course, with his Remnant, and now you have a long duration ability to take that completely away from them. And Tusk, all right, so Tusk has been a bit of a talk in terms of his potential to be played looking ahead to TI4. What do you think of the hero, man?
Tusk, I think he's pretty good. I haven't actually seen too much of the new Snowball since he's been changed, but even before that, I think the 6.81 was a buff. I think even before that, he's still a pretty good hero. He's actually nice to get people out of stun lock. You can just dump him in the Snowball, and they're kind of immune to everything for a couple of seconds. But I think that you also need to practice him a lot, because snowballing makes your positioning very, very awkward, and Frost Shards definitely does too, especially with 3 other melee heroes on your team. So 4 melee heroes versus is not the best, so they're probably not going to have the best laning phase, but we'll see how things go for Isurus.
And as we can see, a little bit of mic adjusting. Day 1, if that's the biggest mistake we got, we're in good shape. And Isurus not going to sit back, not going to take their time. As
it's already Snowball on level 1 on Tusk. So, sometimes you see Frost Shards or Ice Shards. Anyways.
Yeah. We can see the smoke moving now through mid. They're going to take that path on up into the dire jungle. Now, if they do engage, it will be a 4-on-4. Let's see if anyone's going to drift down south from that tier 2. It looks no, they're just waiting. They're going to try to catch someone very early on. It looks like Revenge may have even suspected that this could be the case, as they're playing very defensively and keeping themselves together while their offlaner simply decides to go ward or to get himself into a nice position. But looks like they definitely want to prioritize the aggression early on Smash.
Yep, and they don't actually have level 1 spin on X. It will be a level 1 call. So some unusual skilling choices. I think the Tusk level 1 snowball isn't that strange, though. I think they're just going to just kill him like this. We'll see. Poor Smash, man.
Yeah, this is going to be brutal. We're going to see him grab up everyone and engage as he comes between the tier 1, or the tier 1 and the tier 2. Horn blows and we're underway. The international NA Hub coverage presented by Monster TI4. The whole road lays before us in Revenge and Isurus, wanting to see how many steps it'll take them to get to where they want to be. And they're just going to go ahead and go on the first target they see. It's going to be Masoko, caught and called immediately. Yeah, that's first blood.
Cool strat. 3 melee heroes with Leech Seed and just run up in people's faces, especially a really weak hero like Enchantress is just going to...
We're not done.
Smash, he doesn't have that great of daytime vision. That's one of the downfalls of Night Stalker. So I don't even know if he's going to see it coming until too late.
And there's going to be a pause. It's like, yeah, this is scary. We need a minute to collect ourselves. Now, it's actually a disconnect. And we were talking before we started the coverage this morning, just some jokish over-unders. One was over-under, how many hours would it take before Dota Lounge crashed beneath the weight of the betting? Another one was, of course, how many pauses and disconnects will there be in the matches involving the South American teams? So hopefully this will be one of just a few. But so far, Isurus off to a great start. Now, how do you think Revenge is going to react to all this?
Well, I think Smash is going to die, firstly. Secondly, I think they need to rotate the Enchantress and try and scout out the ganks if possible with the creeps. They do have boots on Tusk, but no real good way to actually catch up to people unless they're right on top of them or with Snowball. So if they can find Tusk, then I think they'll be okay. Storm, until he is level 6, he can't really catch anyone too. And then kind of wait for nighttime, because Vision's actually a very, very big issue. Revenge doesn't actually have any Observer Wars in the mid lane, and Night Stalker is just going to probably die a couple of times until it hits that 4-minute mark. And then after that, they can gain some traction and gank. Revenge, they may take some hits early, but I don't really think they're that early game centric. They have the support, or they have the carry Wraith King. They can do Roshan at will with Untouchable and Shadow Shaman Ultimate. So I think they have some comeback mechanics in case they do get far behind early.
Yeah, and it looks like that's really the plan, is Isurus just wanting to put them in as deep a hole as possible before they resume anything that resembles a standard laning phase. And I was going to say, how long do you think Isurus can keep this up? I mean, right now, it's awesome that you get first blood. It's awesome that you're likely to get a kill here on Smash. But you are giving some things away elsewhere. This isn't coming at no cost whenever you have this much manpower dedicated to this early gank mechanic. How long do you think they're going to keep this up?
Well, I think they can actually farm the opponent's jungle with the axe. Let's check his build. He has 1 set of tangos, 1 set of salve, so I think that they can actually get a decent amount of levels and keep pressure in between mid and top. They don't really need to pressure the Darkseer at all. He's versus Ember. Ember can just get Flame Guard and play aggressively on Darkseer, so I think he's self-sufficient in that lane. So they might not be able to kill people, but I don't think it'll cost them that much experience if they don't kill people.
Here we go, back underway, and Isurus looking to perhaps tally another one. They're going to move up to the north right now. In mid, it's going to remain a 1 versus 1. Yeah, it looks like they want to change things up, maybe thinking that it would be a little too predictable to head back to mid, and they're going to make a target.
Masoku will scout him out right now, though. They see Axe, so they probably know that the other two are with them. There's no way a solo Axe can stand against this tri lane, so...
Yep.
Oh, I think someone's about to get snowballed on.
Looks like they might be playing a little bit more safe, actually. They're doubling back, and it looks like they are just trying to find a target. They're going to send Axe into lane by himself so far. He'll be able to stay up front, just knowing that he's likely to have reinforcements behind him. Here we go. Tusk is there with the tree. They're going to spot Masoko. There's going to be a call to caught 1. Snowball catches 2. Mystico, the squishy target, got hit with the Leech Seed as well. Let's see if they can get him before he gets back to the tower. And he will be able to survive, and that is just so strong out of Enchantress. The Nature's Attendance makes it so hard to get these early lane kills. So good dodge there from Revenge. They're up and fighting.
Yeah, 3 melee, it's really easy to kite. We even saw some body blocking coming out of Masoku. Surprised he actually hasn't reached for a creep yet, but now that all 5 heroes are accounted for on the map, I fully expect him to. I don't believe we've introduced the lineups.
Yeah, we could take a run through our lineups if we want. It's so hard to do. But starting out on the with Isurus, it'll be Nihidra. I guess I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. On the Tusk, it'll be DDX playing on the Storm Spirit. Fullback will be handling the Ember Spirit. Axe going to be handled by Zerto, while Papita plays on our Treant Protector. For Revenge, Mystico on the Shadow Shaman. Smash, the standout and the player we all want to see how he's going to perform for Revenge. He's going to be on the Night Stalker, while Masuko on the Enchantress, just level 1 by the way. Mihawk on the Darkseer, and of course the Slayer, Binjaz on Wraith King.
A couple of pings come out. Tusk scouts him out, but with no one close by to snowball, doubt he'll initiate on this. We actually see Smash going a pretty unusual build in the middle lane, the 1-1-0 build at level 3, so keeping that Void low level just so it's easier to last hit, get his bottle, get his boots, and then do some damage during nighttime. And a lot of Night Stalkers won't actually pick up Crippling Fear until way later, maybe like 8, I think, is standard, but against this lineup, you really do need the silence.
Yep, I totally agree, and I think that's really why you pick him. It just also works so very well with the roaming potential we had talked about. We're going to see that come into play hugely probably in the next minute, but that's always a decision you have to make as a Night Stalker. Do you think he'll farm during the first night, or he'll try to get active?
I think he needs to get active.
Yeah.
Storm and Ember Spirit just have big targets on their head before they get their items, and you really don't want Ember Spirit getting any items. Let's check how his farm is doing on bottom. He's 11-2 compared to 9-2, so Mihawk not doing the best. He's actually should be, I think, doing a little bit better versus a melee hero. That's really where Darkseer shines. Misko. Uh-oh, I think he's about to get rolled on.
Let's see. It looks like they're setting up for it. Full mana bars on everyone. He is in a very precarious situation. He's going to give a little bit of a love tap to Zerto and force him back. And, you know, this top lane just has so much volatility built into it. It is a 2-on-3 ostensibly, as the Enchantress has moved to a far side of the jungle and is not going to be able to make it back unless she comes right now. It looks like that might be the case. But, yeah, actually going to smoke. So they're going to look to turn the tables and get aggressive on their own.
Yeah, they don't actually have any eyes on the top lane, though, and the smoke will pop it. We'll see 1, we'll see 2 Centaurs, and they know that Enchantress closely behind in tow. I think she probably should have wrapped around the other way, but maybe they can still go on Isurus. Nah.
We can see the Tusk right now is just level 2, so even though they have been aggressive, they haven't been really able to parlay that into the advantage I think they would have wanted at this stage of the game with this kind of a lineup draft that they have. One of the big knocks against Tusk that you always hear is that unless he is just successful in the, very successful in the first 10 to 15 minutes, he can begin to feel like a little bit of dead weight. Snowball's excellent, but falling behind in levels doesn't bode all that well for them, especially once this laning phase begins to break down. And once again, Smash, once he gets a couple of levels and 1 or 2 items up his boots and so on, he'll be able to start really applying pressure elsewhere. Up at top, it looks like we might have some action, and we do, as we see Binjaz is there. Is going to be a stomp from the Centaur, caught a bunch. There's going to be shackles to turn around. Smash TP's top. Pepito's going to end up dropping. Now Zerto next on the list, got a couple of spins off, but still not enough damage, and that's exactly what we knew was going to be the risk for Isurus coming into this Merlane. Smash at this level, and it being nighttime, going to be a huge threat, and they managed to make it 2-1 and turn things around a bit.
Their tri-lane is just not that strong. They only got 1 kill out of it very, very early, and even the second time that they tried to get a kill, they went on the squishiest hero, which is Shadow Shaman. He can't really do that much defensively, doesn't have a heal, and they weren't actually able to get a kill. So it's been 4 minutes. They can't get that many kills. They have Night Stalker roaming on them. Probably time to ditch, and we'll see 2 of the heroes move around a little bit. Treant with level 2 living armor. Let's see, 1-1-0 on the Tusk, and he is only level 2. And as you said, yeah, he can kind of fall off a little bit, but that's sort of the same for Enchantress too, so I don't really see it that big of a problem if neither Enchantress nor Tusk get any kills early. And really, Smash already picked up another TP scroll, so he is ready to rock and roll into other lanes.
Well, if there is one nice benefit they have, like you said, they kind of break even on the Tusk Enchantress trade-off, but the Ember Spirit and the Storm Spirit are tops in CS right now. Storm getting this kind of a start is going to be excellent. That'll be a great way for them to initiate and counter-initiate the aggression that Revenge is bound to want to pour out. But just as important, if not more important, is the Ember Spirit, really getting his legs underneath him very early on. He'll be a quick level 6.
I think Smash is in a lot of trouble. Well, they did save the regen rune for him. Probably the best rune for Storm.
And Smash playing back a little bit as we see the rotation is there. But yeah, the Ember Spirit A 28 CS, 29 now, in absolutely excellent shape. We can already see he's got 700 gold tucked away, has his brown boots and a bottle up, so he's going to be able to stay out. Looks like they want to put some pressure on the bottom, teleporting down the Tusk, and lands in the tree as well. Mihawk's at about half health. He has Surge available for him, level 2 on that. And let's see if they can get the jump on him, as we see a little bit of baiting being done at the moment by fullback. They're continuing to just hang back for the moment, though, and trying to draw him down. It looks like he sniffed it out, as he's going to pull back and just say, this doesn't feel safe.
Yeah, I think good map awareness by him. They do have pretty good eyes on top lane with his Observer Ward. Doesn't actually quite see the tower, but still good enough. Their flag's actually pretty creepy. And they have pretty good eyes on mid, too, because Night Stalker has full vision over nighttime, so he can see it on the opposing cliff, and they really have to go with the smoke.
Here we go. Mihawk engaged upon. They're going to try to track him down. There's a surge. Shards were off the mark, and he will make it to the safety of his tower. Looks like they thought about diving it.
They missed a lot of spells there. They missed the Ice Shards as well as the Searing Chains.
Shards, without a doubt, one of the most important abilities you're going to have as a Tusk whenever you're trying to chase down a hero that has an ability like Surge. Just creating a much longer path, and the duration on Surge runs out very quickly. Up at top, Masuko up. Going to follow up the stun. The Hellfire Blast let off on Zerto. And here come the creeps. Going to be able to get a net off behind it. Satyrs right there with it. And Living Armor could be enough, though. As, nope, never mind. Emperor, the Ether Shock was there. And the burst enough to bring him down even through the tree armor. So 3-1. And Revenge seems to be picking up a little bit of steam here. You got to be worried for Isurus.
That's expected for nighttime. Now, 8-minute mark. Let's see where the rune goes. Smash. Not terribly lucky on that route. Papita will scout the rune bottom and see a zip on mid. Smash. 1157 HP. Doubt he's in that much trouble, but looks like they're going to try and take a tower with the onset of daytime.
Top tower is under
just a lone Tusk, and their anti-push is terrible.
There's some shards actually caught him down, but Shadow Shaman drops his wards, so even though that was a fairly well shot set of shards, still not enough, and certainly nowhere near the personnel to try to take that fight. Smash looking to be in good position. Darkseer's working on his mechanism now, and everyone beginning to just fall back a little bit as we get closer and closer to that 10-minute mark. So the gold graph tells us a little bit of a lead going the way of Revenge, as one would anticipate, but more importantly, it's not so much about the tangible lead they have now. Do you think Isurus was able to accomplish what they needed to with their draft here, Merlini?
I don't think so. I think they need a few more levels on Tusk, and I think that Enchantress is probably more useful without item just because they can do Roshan very, very early, and she does have a lot of pure damage and impetus and can just burst down to other heroes very quickly. Tusk has Snowball, but he has to be a melee range, and he is actually quite the squish master.
And at this point, not only is he beginning to feel very underleveled, his farm's very low, and mana problems do set in for Tusk at a certain point. You just aren't able to stay nearly as active as you would like. So right now, I feel like Revenge is in a really nice position. Looks like they know it, too. They're really not even trying to be aggressive. They're just taking what lead they have and trying to extend it by staying safe and farming. They haven't even broken away from that top lane despite bringing down the Tier 1. You'd think this might be a time when they start to collapse elsewhere.
Yeah, Revenge doesn't really have that much pressure. They just need to take good fights or towers with the Rasta Wars, and that's one big discrepancy that we see in between these two teams is Tusk is level 3.5, Trance almost level 5, and we see Shadow Shaman 6.5, and we see Enchantress almost level 6 too. So the supports on the side of Revenge are getting much more out of this. Smash trying to take it easy until the next nighttime, and we'll see some more issues.
More disconnects and the such. It's all right. Gives us a minute or two to work on a couple of things, as day one, of course, getting all of the wires straightened out. As you saw, I'm sure the folks noticed we switched camera feeds a couple of times, but looks like we got everything squared away. Yep, and looks like there was maybe an issue with Dota TV, but hopefully we're in all great shape. We're right at 10 minutes, and looks like we're just about ready to get moving again as the reconnect is there. So 10 minutes in now, Merlini, give me a captain's chair kind of summation on where you think both of these teams need to be headed with their thinking and with their game planning.
I think Revenge just needs to group up. Once they get the mech on Darkseer, looks like that's coming out in about 800 gold, and just take towers down, make them fight in the wars that they really want to take a fight. Let's see, Enchantress and Shadow. Oh, also play around nighttime too, so they can take it easy for the next couple of minutes. If they really want to, they can push mid with the wards, and then it'll be up again by nighttime. So they have more options open to them. They can also sneak a Roshan in. Let's check the untouchable level on Enchantress. Actually level 0 untouchable, so probably not Roshan this early. In Isurus, they need to protect their heroes. Living Armor makes that a little bit easier, but I think better vision around the map, which they have with this Observer Ward in the middle, will make that even easier.
They are going to go ahead and rotate all the way through, as you saw. Bypassing Roshan, like you said. Not really looking like the time, and skill build, not exactly where you'd want that to be. Mystico does have his wards up. Enchantress is actually very close to level 6 as well. Even has 1,500 gold tucked away, too. Centaur is going to end up losing 1 as it's going to expire, so still taking their time, looking for the chance to push in. They do have a lot of reinforcements in the vicinity for Isurus, so potential for a big fight. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and smoke 4 as we see Smash TPing down, and they're going to go headhunting, maybe trying to gank out this Ember Spirit. He does have a point into the silence, and they're going to try to put that to use right now. It's going to end up being spotted. There we go. Ulti pop. Smash going to go. Immediately silences out fullback, and he's just going to be clawed down behind his own tower. TP's coming, but it's a little bit late. They even canceled it, and now Papita being pursued by Smash. Benjaz is there, and the wards go down, and this is beginning to look very troublesome for Isurus. Not only are they losing these fights, they're not getting anything back at all. That first blood kill, the only one that remains, now they've lost 2 Tier 1 towers, and it doesn't look like anything's going to be changing anytime soon.
They have good late game, but at the same time they have, I don't want to say snowball heroes.
Yeah.
And Storm and Ember Spirit, but they are snowball
Dude, that's the
heroes.
easiest pun in the world. Come on.
It's too easy. It's, I don't like the super easy ones. You got to make the people think.
Just like your women, man. Don't like the super easy ones, right?
Don't like the super easy ones. But they do have snowball heroes, and they do need to get kills. So, yes, they can win from behind, but that's not the strength of their lineup. I think I expected a lot more tower dives. I expected a lot more aggression, maybe some creep skipping from the top lane, and it's falling a little bit flat right now. The Tusk pick was kind of novel for the first blood, but since that, he hasn't really done anything.
Yeah, but that's kind of what we were talking about is, you have to get a certain amount of mileage out of him early on. Otherwise, he ends up just not feeling like he contributes a whole lot.
Ooh,
Yeah,
the
gave
armlet rush.
Yeah, armlet up very early. I do like that. That's kind of an old school look back. There's going to be the shards that'll catch one, but follow-up's not there. It feels to me like Revenge is...
Did that even do any damage?
Yeah.
It didn't look like it.
Yeah, I feel like Revenge is just moving better than Isurus. Isurus seems a little frantic right now. They're just kind of, they split up after a fight and they have to run to meet somewhere else, while Revenge seems much more focused in what they want to accomplish. And Night Stalker once again in Night going to be in good position for the foreseeable future.
He doesn't have wings. You see this? Where's his wings, man?
Oh, that's the illusion.
I know, but he's supposed to look the same. He's supposed to look like the real deal.
Graphical glitches aplenty. There you are.
What the heck?
I remember when
He
that
looks
was
like
standard.
Life Stealer.
like an upright life stealer.
Yeah.
Found his haunches.
He's still hunched over a little bit.
The key items are beginning to come out on both sides. Mechanism was finished up by Darkseer on the side of Revenge. Blink Dagger brought out as well on the axe. So they're going to need to start really doing some work. We can see DDX is going straight on up to his Orchid following his treads. And fullback looking for that early Battle Fury very early on. On the side of Revenge, though, Midas came out on Masuko. We really didn't even talk about that. Very important. Mystico will be going straight for Receptors. He's picked up a point booster. Smash is actually grabbed up an Ogre Club. That going to be BKB up. Hold on. Mihawk caught out in mid. Follow-up is there. And the mech enough to buy some time. Leech Seed will slow him down. It's taken him a long time to bring him down. And finally, Zerto dunks his face. Makes it 3-5.
Isurus just needs to kind of pick Revenge apart
Yep.
one at a time. They can't take on 5-on-5s unless they get 2 key heroes very, very early on in the fight. Darkseer, but he's relatively difficult since he has a mech, and Shadow Shaman, as you said, with a point booster, also a very, very important target. And they just this is nighttime. This is when Smash is supposed to be getting kills. This is when Revenge is supposed to be putting on the screws, cranking it up and making Isurus feel the pain. But I don't really see them pressuring that hard, and part of it is because Isurus has really good vision. So now they will go into the Roshan pit. I believe it was scattered out with the Observer Ward.
Yep, they know he's there, and they've got the Tusk ready to go. 1 point in the Snowball, 2 into Sigil. And if they're going to challenge, you need to go quick. They're going to throw the Remnant in, but this Roche...
It's really hard to fight into this.
Yeah.
Serpent wards, and then even if you kill the Wraith King, he has Reincarnate. It's just... I don't think so.
It looks like they want to make a run at it. Roche very low. There's going to be a Sleight of Fist to do a little bit of damage. And Snowball's going to go in. They're going to catch Masuko and only him. In the meantime,
Ooh.
Smash did manage to get the Aegis. But no, actually it was Snatch. Storm Spirit got that. And he's going to end up losing it immediately, but denying it away from Revenge, a victory in and of itself. They ended up giving up 1 aside from it, make that 2. Losing fullback there makes it a little bit more costly than they would have liked. But very nice Aegis snatch by DDX. And Zerto now caught in the river. Smash there to follow it up. And, yeah, that's going to be a dead axe. So even though Revenge doesn't manage to come away with what they would have wanted, they're going to be in a great position now to take a run at this Tier 1. It's sitting near full health, but going to drop very quickly as they don't have Ember or Axe to come challenge.
To be honest, the Aegis isn't even that important on Night Stalker. He has a ton of strength right now. He has 1,500 HP, and Isurus, like, unless they catch him in a really nice, like, Blink Call and Walrus Punch and Storm Zip, or just, I don't know. I don't think they have enough damage to kill him. And then on top of that, you have a Wraith King beating in your face with 1,800 HP. Reincarn hasn't been used yet this game, so I'm scared for Isurus's damage output. We see Ember Spirit maxing Sleight of, or not maxing Sleight of Foes rather, so he maxed Searing Exchange, which means his damage output over fights is mostly reliant on Flame Guard, and Flame Guard just isn't bursty enough to take down these heroes, and then combine that with Enchantress Heal, and the mech, and the counter initiation from Maku Wall. With 4 melee heroes on the side of Isurus, it's just really difficult for them to win team fights unless they get mass BKBs, or at least a BKB on Storm Spirit.
Yeah, I think you're 100% on the mark, and the problem is Isurus going to have enough time to get everything online, because you have to fight. I mean, Revenge isn't likely to just sit back and go, oh, okay, even though we have an advantage, let's just all go farm, and let's give you some space to get up those very important items that are going to make it more difficult for us coming down the stretch. They're going to continue to try to fight and fight often, and so long as they do that, their item advantage, one would believe, should grow. Taking a look at the levels.
Oh, Storm might go on top. He just picked up an Orchid.
Yep, just finished it up. Mystico could be in trouble. He's got about half a mana bar and a full health bar. Yep, there we go. Living Armor, Orchid shown off for the first time. TPs are going to come in, and he's not going to be able to finish him up quick enough and decides to just go ahead and bail while he can. So he took a run, but at least he didn't lose anything there.
Not bad. Not bad. Easy kill for DDX, and they just need to keep doing that. Just make Revenge run around the map, not actually able to take down towers with this Shadow Shaman. Shadow Shaman probably needs a BKB too. Oh, mid.
Engaged upon Benjaz. Taunted, and here comes the collapse. TPs are coming in, though. There's going to be the counter stun on the Zerdo. Smash comes in from behind it. Sleight of Fist just not doing enough damage, but the snowball going to be used to try and buy some time. They re-engage on the Smash. Just going to try to run away now. They manage to catch a bunch with the Overgrowth, and nice shards that time. Down go the wards, and Isurus hanging as hard as they can. It's going to be a bloodbath as it's 3 for 1 right now. However, one of those was the Wraith King. He's back up, brings down Tusk from behind. Shackles, plus the right-click coming out from the Wraith King, enough to get Papita close to dead, but not quite. Masuko right there with them, and the follow-up Ether Shock after the Hellfire Blast makes it a 4 for 2 exchange. So Isurus, that was probably going to be their last real hurrah in terms of actually having a chance to take a fight. They got 2 very nice targets, the Night Stalker and the Darkseer, but it cost them a hell of a lot. And yeah, check the net change worth there. That's a 1,400-ish gold swing just in that fight alone. And this is beginning to look like Revenge is going to be able to just put a stranglehold on Isurus.
Ember Spirit might get his Battle Fury, but I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Yep.
Benjaz closing in. Could be Mjolnir, more likely than not AC, though, since he picked up the Hyperstone first. And actually, that is a completed Battle Fury. So the gold lead is only at 8,000-ish gold right now. Could be worse.
8,000 in 19 minutes, that's the problem. They're going to smoke, and this is really what I think they have to do. I mean, it's one that, you know, this is the quintessential desperation smoke, but really their lineup is geared that this should have been the game plan from the beginning. They have to keep pressure up, and they have to make sure, like you said, to try to pick them apart 1 and 2 at a time. You know, going 5-on-5, it's just not going to work out. They're lacking in a few items. But with the Battle Fury out and the Orchid, maybe now's the time that we can start to see them try to carve this up and cut into this deficit a little bit. They're going to have a shot at a target here. Mihawk going to be caught. Vortex and Walrus Punch there to help seal the deals. Actually, Storm that secures the kill on that one. Nice pick there.
And it looks like Rasa will go for the casual point booster into the Blink Dagger. The Blink Dagger is just so good at catching out an Ember Spirit and catching out DDX, and it makes his positioning a lot easier in team fights. And we see what happens when you let Shadow Shaman just do his thing. He hexed up the Storm Spirit, dropped the wards, shackled the Tree and Protector, and did the majority of the damage during the Skeleton King's reincarnation. And they have to kill him. They have to kill Misko early. What's up, Base Kip?
Grabbing a seat right next to us, taking a look at the action. And we can see they do take a Tier 1 off of that, so continuing to try to cut things down a little bit. The Ember Spirit, unfortunately, sitting about half overall in net worth. His items coming out so slow, sitting on just Brown Boots and a Battle Fury as of right now.
No, the mid tower. It's so low.
Got fortified. And We'll take a look at mid momentarily. But
it's in deny range. They need to do something about it quick.
Yep. We can see DDX setting up in position. The rest of Revenge is rotating their way over. And they're going to be able to get it. There's Mystico, though, leads off with a Hex. And there's going to be a call that catches one. Nightstalker pops the ulti. Smash wants to go to work. The stun out on DDX. Do they have enough lockdown? There's Tusk saving him with the snowball if he can. And they're going to re-engage. Off go the shards as well. Benjaz is trapped. We're going to see Papita just teleport away. The BKB for Smash keeping him nice and safe. And the rest of the fight raging on, but no deaths as of yet. Mystico very low. Did manage to make it away. Benjaz wound up for a stun there. Just heard the wards go down. Yeah, they dropped it right next to the pit, and they're going to manage to get a kill there on the Storm Spirit. So even though Mystico did end up dying as well, that's a very worthwhile trade to take the Storm Spirit off of the map and at least make it a 1-for-1. But we're just beginning to see the item level and gold advantage really come into play. Revenge just feels so tanky in every one of these fights.
They really do, and that's without Wraith King Ultimate, so they weren't even playing as aggressively as they could have. If they can, I don't know, they need BKB on Storm. I think that's the most important thing for Isurus right now. He keeps dying in these fights, these big engagements, that is.
For now, looks like both teams reloading a little bit, like you said. Wraith King's ultimate will be off cooldown before too terribly long. Benjaz is looking to get into Salt Cuirass, already has the Hyperstone and the Plate Mail up. Taking a look at the rest of the items. That BKB we saw for Smash just made him feel nigh on impervious. Just not a whole lot was done to him. Mystico with the mobility that a Blink Dagger grants, he's going to be huge in these fights coming up. Axe picked up that Blade Mail. It looks like DDX on the Storm Spirit will be trying to get up a BKB following that Orchid. So I don't know. Isurus is definitely behind, but I feel like they've done a fair job over the last 5 to 8 minutes or so, and at least keeping things from getting too completely out of hand. Boots of Travel now done on the Ember Spirit as well.
They need to be able to kite the Wraith King. Okay, sure. They need to be able to kite the Wraith King in the team fights and maybe kite the Night Stalker during his BKB. Wraith King doesn't really have any mobility items. He has no move speed items. He has no Blink Dagger. He has really no good vehicle for him to engage, maybe off the back of Night Stalker running in with BKB, but they can kite him, and he, I think, does a majority of the damage in his team fights, especially with Armlet activated, so the better they can do with Berserker's Call, with Searing Chains, with even the Tusk Sigil or Overgrowth, and just keep him in place and keep those squishy heroes like Ember Spirit alive.
Looks like we could have the makings of a fight. Down in bottom, we have a major collapse. It'll be all 5 from Revenge making their way down right now. Only 4 from Isurus in any kind of position to try to challenge this out. And the Scepter is now complete on the Enchantress, so damage output not going to be an issue looking ahead. And Benjaz just doesn't care. He's sitting up front, armlet toggled, battle hunger there, doesn't care. And
he's the wrong person for them to initiate on. If they initiate on him, they lose the fight.
Exactly. And Smash now hooking back up. And yeah, and Isurus has to dodge. They literally can't do anything to stop this right now. It looks like they're going to try to head top and maybe try to make them pull back by pressuring top tier 2 and mid tier 2. Mid tier 2 is equally pushed out. Looks like they're going to bypass mid lane and go straight for top. You think it's the right call?
Well, I don't even think they can.
No, they can't
stop this push. Shadow Shaman, he has his ultimate up. He didn't have to blow it last fight, and they have everything up. Maybe not Aegis, but it's still nighttime, so they're good.
Yep, looked a little bit of indecisiveness. Looks like they wanted to try to force him back with pressure, but now forced into a position where they realize they can't push as quickly. Wards are down, tower down to about a quarter health. Ember doing what damage he can. And Benjaz, like you said, you can't really initiate onto him, so he's willing to tank all that damage. Wards are in range up. There's a Hellfire Blast to lead. Impetus damage very good against DDX, and he's dead. He's going to get him with one more. Nope, never mind. Snowball actually saved him. Great play there from the Tusk. Comes back out. Now let's see if they got the return damage. Axe pops his Blade Mail. We're going to see the mech to get him back in fighting shape. Walrus Punch there, but Benjaz still survived that. Didn't even lose his initial ultimate. We're going to have a reinitiation on the DDX. Engages on Misoko. No, he's going to be shackled. Mystico in the right place, right time. One dunk going to tally a kill, but the rest have to go running, and it's Wraith King who's back up on his feet following the closer there. DDX comes back out. A lot of low targets here, but the damage is just too high.
Just bought back.
Yep, just bought back. And engaged 1-on-5. Now Zerno's going to go in, make it. No, the Shackle. Oh, no, he got the right spin at the right time. Shackle looked like it was going to save him. Full back now. Good vacuum brings him back. Benjaz going to end up dropping again. Mihawk makes it away with very little health. It looks like, yeah, he's going to throw the shards. Oh, Mihawk caught by it. And Snowball will be able to stun him. Walrus Punch. seals the deal. So they end up losing their racks, but finally they do manage to get some kills on the way out of the door. Problem is they came at the end of the fight, not at the beginning when they really needed them.
And that was just perfect timing coming out from Revenge. They had a lot of kills nighttime. They still had the wards up. Storm Spirit didn't have his BKB. They had a DD on Night Stalker, and the stars just aligned for that one. So Roshan will respawn. Revenge can easily take it. Let's see, level 4 Untouchable Enchantress, so they don't actually have to use the Rasta wards, and they can probably get another Rax while it's still nighttime. I don't know. They only have a couple minutes, maybe a minute and a half.
Right now, things looking a little bit dire for Isurus. It just feels like their lineup's kind of run out of gas. I mean, you still do have the hope that an Ember Spirit gives you, looking ahead to late, and could be going for a crit build now. Could be on his way to a Crystallis. We'll see if that's going to end up being the case, as did pick up the Claws of Attack. But Smash looking for, one would imagine, a Scepter, as he's picked up the point booster. And everything just seems to be going their way. Wraith King's actually topping out the charts right now in overall net worth. 3 of the top 4 all belonging to Revenge, and Storm has fallen way behind. He was on a great pace early on, but once the Orchid came out, we saw him put it to use somewhat, but now that BKB, unless he's got stuff on the curve I'm not seeing, that's an age away.
They're always focusing him. It's if not the silence from Night Stalker, then it's Rasta always focusing, and if not him, then it's Storm Spirit. He can't really do anything without a BKB. Living Armor doesn't save him, and to be honest, the first pick tree, it hasn't seemed to work out, and maybe they might make a stand at Roche, but you don't really want to take a 5-on-5 against Revenge right now. They're all at full HP.
Benjaz right there still going to work. We're going to see Mystico caught out. This could be an easy kill, but he got the wards down, so he's going to get some damage done in the meantime. And yeah, DDX is in trouble. There's going to be a vacuum into a wall, and now they're looking to follow it up behind the fight. Revenge re-engaging. They managed to catch the tree with the Impetus Spear, and now Zerto's next on the list. Double kill from Masuko. His damage so high. Hellfire Blast catches fullback, and that's going to be 4 for 1. Mystico the only one to drop. DDX did make it away, but the rest of the team dying behind them. Just, yeah, again, at this point, everything just going the way of Revenge, and now it's going to be a free Roshan on top of everything else.
That's pretty much the game right there. They lost the gem, and Storm Spirit, he bought back and died the last fight, and he was actually pretty close to his BKB right before that, but off the back of this Aegis, Revenge not even losing anyone there, and Benj is just getting more and more and more items. I don't really think they can take one more fight. I mean, they'll probably try and fight one more time, but this is all but loss for Isurus.
Isurus down to what could be their final breath here in this leadoff game of the International 4 America's Qualifiers. The coverage here at the NA Hub presented by Monster Energy. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. We've, of course, got a whole day of action on multiple streams, so make sure you check those out in between games, as this one, again, looks like it could be coming down to this we'll have CNB versus NES here on the studio stream. That'll be mine and Merlini's. That'll be our last cast here together. Then I'll be migrating elsewhere. It'll be LD and Fear bringing you Liquid and Revenge following that match too. So make sure you catch everything at the NA Hub coverage. And it's twitch.tv, and I completely forgot the rest of it if you can remember it. The link for all of our hub.
Maybe a stats guy can pull it up.
Yep, something like that. NA Hub
/ teams / TI4 NA.
There it is.
I got it.
Big plays.
Now, Shadow Shaman actually went a pretty interesting build. The Blink, or the casual point booster, Blink, and the Bloodstone. So screw the Scepter. Just wants to survive.
Yep.
Or help his team out if he dies. It's not a bad.
You can always transition. If the game goes late, you've at least got something towards something you're going to want late game on a Shadow Shaman anyway. Tier 3 here in mid. Going to end up dropping.
Cares about. He doesn't care about anything. He gives no fucks.
Not one. And Mystico now going to be the target. He's Vortex back. Mech's there to keep him alive. They just don't have the damage right now. Wall goes down, and we're going to end up seeing the Axe die before he can do much of anything. And out comes the Wraith King ult. Back up on his feet. Zerto's next on the list. And we're going to see fullback. Just look at him melt. Anytime he's caught with any stun, any lockdown, any silence, he just dies immediately. But Pizza has to head back to the well. But, yeah, that's 4 for nil. I guess 4 for a Wraith King ult if you want to be technical. That's going to be your second set of racks, and that's most likely going to be, there it is, GG, game 1, done.
Revenge played really smartly this game. If you look at all the engagements, they won all of them, and it looks like Isurus may have played poorly or executed poorly, but Revenge, I think, actually played really smartly. They almost never got picked off. They never took small skirmishes in groups of 2 or 3, which is where Storm Spirit and Ember Spirit absolutely wreck you, especially with Living Armor. So the smartest thing they did was just not split up, not give them any quarter. They did die a couple of times to smokes, but they were always grouped as 5, fought with Rasta Ward's mech, and Got history from there.
Well, like you said, you're going to die to smokes. You can't play out a game of Dota that goes 30 minutes and not have a few give-ups, especially with this kind of a lineup that's meant to be able to engage and catch you off guard, that's meant to allow you to be a little extra aggressive. But all in all, the damage was very, very small, and all in all, Revenge with a great Game 1 showing.
Yeah, it was a fantastic way to start things off for the TI4 NA qualifiers. To me, the big thing was they got they went for a really kind of cheesy strategy with the Tusk going for those ganks. They got the first blood, but getting first blood doesn't give you an advantage. Like, it gives you, like, what, 600-700 gold total maybe for your team, and after that they did nothing with it. Right. They had weak lanes because of it. Tusk was, like, level 4 at, like, 17 minutes in the game. He did not even get level 6 for his Warriors Punch until so far into the game. What are your thoughts, Basecamp?
I don't know, just nice to see Revenge. Pretty good game from them.
Yeah.
Interesting draft, like you said, from Isurus. And I said it right before the game. I was worried about Revenge. If this first game went poorly, then I thought that could snowball a little bit. But yeah, they held it together. It was a rough early game as well. You don't always expect to see that kind of triple melee, aggressive tri-lane hunting in your jungle. But they handled it well and took it to the mid game. And like you said, 5-manned it out. Worked out just fine.
I think they needed a more self-sufficient offlaner. I think if Tree and Tusk could have stayed mid and threatened Night Stalker a little bit more, and Axe could have, or whatever offlane besides Axe, could have stayed there by himself, I think they could have actually put a lot more pressure on Night Stalker and let Storm just snowball a lot harder. He got his Orchid at a decent clipping, but he didn't get enough kills early.
Wraith King's not really a hero that you need to shut down either. Like, Wraith King doesn't care about getting a ton of farm. He doesn't need free farm. He just needs a few items, needs a few levels, and he can do a lot in the game. So they had a tri-lane to shut down a Wraith King. Meanwhile, like, Darkseid was getting levels and farm at bottom lane, and then mid lane. Smash Basically controlled the game. It's kind of, I guess, what people will talk about Revenge. When Smash does well, Revenge tend to win. He's the tempo controller.
Yep. Great Game 1, man. Great way to lead, and I think especially those who were wanting to see how Revenge was going to gel, they just moved better. That was a big part of it. Like, it was easy to see that Isurus had a game plan coming in, like you said, kind of a cheesy draft, kind of a gimmick draft, and just Revenge reacted perfectly for the most part. Their movement was great, their decision-making was great, and they lead now, 1-0 here in the group stage.
Yes, and do you think this was a case of they're versing on a team that they should beat, or do you think they played really well and they can actually match up well against Liquid, NAR, Sneaky,
that remains to be seen. This is a great example of they won that game as handily as they should have, if that makes sense. Like, just based on the paper, based on the scouting report, this is a game they should have won and dominated in, and they did. So that answers part of the question: is, are they playing to what we expect of them? Now the question is, will they play beyond what they've shown us before, which is what they'll need if they want to take on a team like NA Rejects or Team Liquid. So again, half the question answered. We'll be finding out not long from now, actually, as they got some big matches coming up.
Yeah, we've got another match coming up soon, and guys, with that in mind, we've got up-to-date standings. Nice. Fantastic.
Awesome.
We can look at these. Look at some of our standings. Some of the matches have been going on in the other streams, and not sure of these exact matches we've had, but all of our round 1 matches are done. So CNB Esports, basically, you've got the schedule. Who's beaten who?
So for round 1, we had EHUG versus Union. That actually ended up being a def win to Union.
Oh, okay.
EHUG had one of their players turn up a little bit late, so that was the result there.
Damn, Valve is hardcore.
Yeah,
man.
They're harsh. It was like 1 minute too late, and that was it. That was it for.
That's
the first
Starlighter
round.
as well. Starlighter cracked the whip.
Yeah, the Starlighter admins.
I like this.
They're pretty harsh.
Yeah. I'm on board with that.
Meanwhile, the lounge stream was CNB versus Top 5. That was a pretty convincing win from CNB. I think it just completely snowballed. They were at like 8-0 before 10 minutes into the game. Final score is something like 24-3 or something like that. So that was a really convincing game from CNB. We're going to be seeing them up next here. Actually, that's going to be CNB versus No Earth Spirit over on the main studio stream. And then I'm not sure of the result.
Sneaky Nick's Assassins won, it said on there.
Okay,
so,
yeah, awesome.
According to our standings, we've got a little standings. That's what this monitor here is for. When it shows up, that is. But guys, that does it. You can catch all those other actions, all the streams that we're talking about, twitch.tv/team/TI4NA. We're going to make an easier link to remember for you guys, as well as for us here. You guys are watching the TI4 qualifiers presented by Monster Energy. We're the NA Hub, #America. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be live with more Dota 2 action from the TI qualifiers. See you guys then.